Hi, Catherine. Nice to see you. Before we begin, shall we pray and offer this time to God? Lord Jesus, we ask you to come and draw near to us, to lead us by the hand. Holy Spirit, fill us up so that our words may be pleasing to you and give you glory. We ask that in all that we do and say, you would be lifted up, be lifted high above. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Amen. So, hi, as I've just said, I've got a couple of questions for you here. Luckily, I've made some notes, so it's going to be good. First question is, you've just moved in. How was the move?
I hate moving, so moving was fun. It was okay, actually. It was quite hectic. Took a good week, 10 days or so. So most recently during lockdown, I've been staying with my parents. They're in Blackpool, so not too far away. So I was there and came to Morecambe from Blackpool. And then spent a good week or so cleaning the house, getting ready. But then all of my things were still in my college room down in Oxford. And with lockdown regulations, it's been quite a challenge retrieving my things. They were held hostage for a little while. So eventually, this weekend just gone, my mum and I hired a van, drove down to Oxford. Turns out I have a lot more stuff than I thought, much to my mother's delight. So it took quite a while, and I think there's still quite a lot of stuff left at mum's. But yeah, no, moving it's been long and it's been hard, but I'm now in, thank goodness, starting to settle, which is really nice.
Fantastic. Well, you are our new curate here at Morecambe Parish Church, and we want to know where you've come from. Where are you from? Where are you? Who are you? Where are you from?
I am from Blackpool originally. Was born there. I grew up in Blackpool. My family, my parents, my sisters are all still there. I lived there all of my childhood. Went to uni in Lancaster. At what was St Martin's is now University of Cumbria. So spent 4 years in Lancaster training to be a teacher. Then I moved to the Midlands. I spent 5 years in Walsall, just north of Birmingham. She says, going grummy. Spent 5 years teaching RE in secondary schools, RE in philosophy at A-level in the Midlands. And then another 2 years down in southeast London, Lewisham, Greenwich kind of way. Working for a group of churches there. So I spent a year interning on a national ministry experience scheme. So the first year, just exploring ministry, seeing what that was all about, trying to work out whether or not I actually wanted to get ordained. Yeah. At the beginning of the year, I categorically did not. By the end of the year, I had to extend for another year because I decided maybe I did want to get ordained. So I spent a second year with the same churches, working as their youth worker, continuing to explore some vocation stuff, work out what that all meant. And then most recently, I was in Oxford doing my ordination training. So I spent 3 years at Wycliffe Hall in Oxford, which has been, it's been quite a challenge. I know it's exactly where God needed me to be, but it was a really tough place to be. But made some incredible friends, which has been good. Learned a lot. So yeah, that's where I was most recently, apart from the last 3-4 months, however long lockdown has been. I spent that back in Blackpool with my parents, which has been another challenge, moving back in as a 30-something, having been away for the past however many years. Moving back in with my parents was interesting. And now I'm here.
And now you're here, so that's where you've come from. Oh, well, it's fantastic to have you. So now that you are here, what are you most excited about? What are you most excited about personally for you? And also then kind of what are you most excited about to see God do, or what are you excited to see in God's plan?
So one of the main things I'm excited about is being back in the north. I've been away for quite a while. So being back in the north, being right by the sea. My house is literally a minute away from the sea. As a northern seaside girl, this house is perfectly located. So I'm really looking forward to living back in this area. It's really close to my family. My dad's got some long-term health issues, so it's really, really good to be able to be much closer to family. And then in terms of sort of ministry and what God's going to do, I'm really looking forward to meeting people in this very strange, online, socially distanced way. I am really looking forward to meeting you, however that might happen. And getting to know new people, becoming part of a church community. I love being part of a church family. I've always, sort of as an adult, I've always lived away from my own family. And so being plugged into a church family has always been really, really important to me. And I'm really looking forward to joining your family in Morecambe. I can't wait to do all of that. And just to see what's going on. I'm really excited. I have no clue what will happen in the next 3 or so years and where that will go. I'm really excited to find out what God has in plan. God has a tendency to surprise me with what the plan is. So goodness only knows what will happen.
There are always good surprises. Well, yeah, mostly.
Well, usually.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, we're very excited to have you, and very excited to have you joining our church family, because that's one of the things we've been looking forward to, is having you with us in the flesh. Although that looks a bit weird and different at the moment. It's very exciting. So that's the exciting stuff, the stuff you're looking forward to. What are you less excited about?
I'm probably least excited about early morning starts. I am categorically not a morning person. So maybe some blanket apologies in advance. I am quite grumpy in the morning. I'm not very articulate. I need a lot of coffee. The best way to deal with Catherine first thing in the morning is a good strong coffee. So yeah, and BCP services are not something that I'm overly familiar with. Done a little bit of that at college, but it's not really my background. I come from a very complicated church background, baptized Roman Catholic, confirmed, brought up Roman Catholic. My dad's side of the family is Catholic. My dad's uncle was a Catholic priest, so that side of my family is very Catholic, and my mum's side is Anglican. But she goes to a fairly middle of the road to high-ish Anglican church. But then at uni and in sort of my adult life, in my working life, I've gone to sort of quite big evangelical charismatic type churches. So the more structured formal things are unfamiliar at the moment. So yeah, that will be a good thing to learn.
Yes. Well, we've got plenty of that. Well, we usually have plenty of that, but that's been a bit of a learning curve for me as well. So perhaps we can learn. We can learn each other. We can
teach each other.
Teach each other. Thank you for the English there. Yes. Yeah. Perhaps we can teach each other as we go. Our mornings are not my strong suit either, but unfortunately they are necessary on a Sunday. And Book of Common Prayer, you will get used to. There is some absolutely wonderful things in the Book of Common Prayer and some wonderful things about it. Although I come from a similar place that you do about that. So, that's really exciting. There's some really cool things, and we're really looking forward to what God is going to do through you and with you while you're with us. But let's find out a bit more about what makes you tick. Can you tell us a person that you admire?
So staring at me right now in my living room, although how long she'll live here remains to be seen, is a massive picture of Audrey Hepburn. I love Audrey Hepburn. Classic elegance. She is my fashion icon, although I don't really have her budget. And it doesn't usually translate in reality. But I think she's beautifully elegant. I like a lot of her old films. But also, after she retired from Hollywood, she did a lot of work with UNICEF. Okay. And she became a UN ambassador. Spent a lot of time working, particularly in third world countries, in countries where there was a lot of deprivation, and she was a great ambassador, and for education for girls as well. She did a lot of work on that. That's something that I really admire. Sort of, the same with Malala. I think she's also incredible, and
Yeah.
she's just been at Oxford the same time that I did.
Ah.
Didn't manage to get a glimpse with her. Was hoping for a quick meeting, but no, alas, she didn't become my friend.
Right,
but again,
over the top of the pudding island, the reflector.
over. Yeah, her college was just down the road, but never caught a glimpse. But yeah, no, the work that they do, particularly for getting girls into education, I think is really, really important. Giving girls the chance to go to school. My diocese, when I was working in London, were linked with dioceses in Zimbabwe, and I went over a few times, did some work there to help open a school for girls, a boarding school for girls, called St Catherine's, so I lived it there. But yeah, that was great to try and encourage girls from local, small local communities to get an education, which is really important.
It's fascinating, brilliant, yeah, very important, and good choice, Audrey Hepburn.
Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, well, actually, I've got a question on here, but that leads me on really to one that I didn't check with you first. Well, it's just that, you're talking about Audrey Hepburn being a hero of yours, especially to do with the education of girls. The college you went to has we won't talk about it, but has an interesting history, particularly to do with depending on which sex you are, and how to put this nicely, you fall on the wrong side of that fence, if there were a wrong side, of course, in terms of that. So it strikes me that going there, you have a particular passion. Is that right? Maybe I could say passion. Or do you want to tell us a little bit about? You don't need to talk about the college, but a little bit about that passion. Could I say feminist?
I would definitely call myself a feminist, a fierce feminist. Well, not in an aggressive way, but I am strongly pro equality, the equality of women, fighting against those systems of injustice that oppress women. That even today in our society, let alone in other cultures, women are still oppressed. Women still do not earn the same as men do for comparable jobs. Women are still overlooked, particularly when it comes to things like having a family, and how that interacts with work. So yeah, I would most definitely call myself a feminist. I think I am really passionate about the equality of women, and the fact that God gifts and equips and calls women in exactly the same way that he does men. And that is something that I will fight to the death for. I really strongly believe in that. I've done quite a lot of work on feminist theology at college. That I came alive when I discovered feminist theology. All of a sudden, there were all of these other people who were serious, sensible theologians who were saying the same things that I'd been sort of innately thinking and not quite having the right language for. Feminist theology made me come alive. I did my dissertation on the submission of women, the command in the Bible for women to submit, and how that works in a modern British culture, particularly in terms of domestic violence. So, nice and lighthearted to end my time with, but it was really important.
Yes, and such a key piece of work, maybe in the environment that you were studying. I mean, I have no first-hand experience, so I wouldn't want to comment on how it is at the moment. But from what one has read and what one has heard, an environment in which that kind of theology might be quite tricky. Wycliffe has had an interesting history, and there are a lot of people, across the church in general, who still, for theological reasons, do not believe that women should be ordained. And so that is fine. There are a lot of people who still think that, and that is fine. But when that belief is then used to oppress women, that's what I have a problem with. Yes, absolutely. If you've got a genuine theological belief in the way that you see women living out there, I'm not going to go into it because I'm not going to use the right words and I'm going to get myself into all kinds of trouble. Oops. But if you've got a genuine theological belief, that's very different from having a sociological kind of what one might call no, I'm going to use the wrong word again. So no, never mind. But a theological belief is okay with you, which that's important. Because that's the tension which we hold in the church at the moment. Isn't it?
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, I think it's yeah, no, stop, moving on. Right, okay.
This is going to be fun.
Well, I know what I think, and I think you know what I think. I think everyone else knows what I think, but I shall keep that to myself. So, why are you here?
Goodness only knows. Why am I here? So I am here. The short version is I am here because very kindly the bishop decided that he would welcome me back into my home diocese in terms of finding a curacy. I was sent by Southwark Diocese, which is the south part of London. Anything south of the river is part of Southwark Diocese. That's where I was living and working before I went to college. So they sponsored me through my training. And then afterwards, I very clearly remember thinking, partway through my first year, I was on a mission trip, actually, a college-based mission to a parish in Blackpool, in the town centre of Blackpool.
Convert heathens up north.
Oh yeah, to go and spread the gospel up the north. And no, I remember standing there thinking, God, I really, really don't want to come back here. I really, really want to go back to London. But I know I just had this really strong feeling that God was saying, no, you've got to come back here. And it wasn't part of the plan. I loved living in London. It was an incredible time.
Yeah.
Utterly insane. I mean, London is just a ridiculous place to live. It is busy and it is noisy and there are so many people. But I wanted to go back. I had some really good friends there, and I thought there was still more that God wanted me to do from a ministry perspective. And so the plan originally was to go do curacy there and then see what happened. But I just had this really, really strong feeling that God was saying, no, you've got to come back north. Now is the time. And just throughout my time at college, God has just kept poking that little button. God doesn't tend to speak to me in this big booming voice. I just get this constant niggle and this constant poking. And yeah, God poked a lot. I did a mission trip in my first year. I did my summer placement between my first and second year. I did that in Blackpool on a brilliant estate plant in Blackpool. Then I did a mission trip my second year to Lancaster University. I did my placement between first and second year in a parish in Morecambe, just between Blackpool and Preston. So everything just kept dragging me back. And yeah, bumped into Bishop Philip at one point, who said, oh, you should come and do your curacy here. And that was a couple of years ago, and here we are.
Bishop Philip has a lot to answer for. But of course, you're not in Blackpool now. This is a very different seaside town. I mean, there are some similarities, but there are a lot more differences, I think, probably once you get in here. So, you came back up north because you felt God telling you so. Do you think he's given you the heart for the place as well? Because as you said, you began by saying, well, I didn't really want to. Do you think he's now sort of given you, because sometimes that happens, certainly. In my case, it's happened before, where I've not wanted to go somewhere and then I've gone and I've been given the love for the place, a sort of like retrospectively applied from God.
I think that definitely is true. I remember Michael Green, who died last year or so, an evangelist who retired to Wycliffe. There are quite a few people who seem to keep retiring to Wycliffe. Tom Wright has just retired to Wycliffe. But no, Michael Green, who was an incredible evangelist and speaker. And I remember him saying to me one time, Catherine, God always gives you the desires of your hearts, but sometimes you just don't know what they are yet. And I think that's exactly true. I lived the north. It's my home and it always has been and it always will be. But I didn't really think there was anything here for me, and off I went. But actually, no, since I sort of felt God saying, come back, I feel really, really like this is the place where I am meant to be. The north of England, the northwest, Blackburn Diocese is the place that I love. It's the place that I want to be. I am so excited to be back, so happy to be back.
Brilliant.
I think
what are you excited about in Morecambe? What are you looking forward to in Morecambe?
The sea. I love the sea.
Yes.
My mum said to me recently, Catherine, I thought you always hated going to the beach. I said, well, yeah, I hated going to the beach because there were loads of tourists, Mum, but actually I love being by the sea. So yeah, I'm excited to be by the sea in Morecambe. And just the people, I'm really excited to get to know the people.
Yes.
I love people. I am a bit of an introvert. I do need some time to recharge on my own. I need to lock myself away, have some time with a book. But I also do really enjoy being with people. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know the people and what it is that makes this place tick. You makes me tick. Actually, I want to know what makes this place tick. And know the people and the way that Morecambe works.
Well, in my experience, this place has a very definite tick, a very obvious way that it works, and it's brilliant. And there are some very particular things to Morecambe which you will discover, and hopefully you will love, and some of them you will probably think, oh wow. But there we go. So what's your favourite tipple?
Favorite tipple, I will drink pretty much anything, but I am partial to a gin. I quite prefer an aromatic-y, botanical-y gin. I'm not a fan of sweet flavoured sweet gins. I like a nice botanical-y gin that tastes a bit like medicine, but in a good way. Although I describe it so well.
Yeah, you've really sold that to me. I'm off here now. I'm straight on to the gin.
Or I love a good glass of red. Or when it's really hot, like at the minute, I love a really nice cold Pinot Grigio.
Oh yeah, very nice, very nice. Favorite chocolate bar?
Anything as long as it's not got nuts in it. Putting nuts and chocolate ruins it, but anything.
Putting nuts and chocolate ruins it. Okay, well that's very clear. Yeah. It's a very clear statement.
I have very strong opinions about chocolate.
So, there are probably millions of questions that people who are watching this are thinking, why don't you ask this, Chris? But I think we've scratched the surface, and I'm looking forward to when people will get the opportunity to know you more through your time here and your ministry. Is there anything that you want people to know about you? Is there anything that you're keen that God brings out? What I suppose, what are your got to get this question right, really, so I don't answer it for you. What are your kind of ministerial hopes? What do you hope from your curacy so far? And maybe actually you could explain a little bit about what a curacy is. Because I don't really know. No, I do. Go on, you explain what.
Neither. I haven't done one yet. So a curacy is sort of the continuation, really, of the learning that I started at college. I was a teacher, and so I spent 4 years in the end at uni training, and then I did another year sort of on-the-job training. And at the end of that first year, my NQT year, I got ticked off and said, "Yep, you are good enough to go out on your own and do this." And I suppose there are some parallels to curacy. I've spent 3 years at college doing all of the academic learning, a couple of placements, but mostly academic work. And now this is the on-the-job continuation of that. So living out what it means to be a leader in the church, really.
Walking practical
questions. I've got a memory like a sieve. That's something that people should know. I've got a memory like a sieve, and I really can't remember what the question was. Sorry.
Well, So that was that. What is a curacy? That one.
That was, yeah.
So we'll the blind will lead the blind here because my memory's not much better. But so what is it ministerially that I suppose you're kind of looking forward to?
I was a teacher, and I love teaching. I think God has definitely called me to teach. I am now living that out in a very different way than I did when I was in a classroom with 30, 16-year-old boys. That was a challenge all of itself, and I'm sure this will be a very, very different one. So, yeah, I feel really strongly like God is wanting me to teach. So preaching, I love preaching and teaching and small groups, telling people about Jesus. I love Jesus, and I want other people to experience that. And to see what a difference it can make. It's not easy, but it's the best decision that a person can make. And so I just want to get on and do that, really. So yeah, preaching and teaching. And then I think I've already spoken about the feminist stuff. So championing particularly young women. I feel really strongly that is something that I want my ministry to involve.
Brilliant.
But who knows? Watch this space.
We are excited to find out what the next 3 years has in store for us here in Morecambe. So I'm going to stop recording now then, and there we go. We'll say goodbye.